This is page 89 of your math journal. We're going to call this one comparing functions. Okay, sometimes you might have more than one function type situation to compare, and you want to see that in different ways. So we're going to look at the 4 ways that we can see functions, but we're going to be comparing 2 different situations. So here's going to be our example. Janae can make 2 cakes each day and already has 3 done. Kennedy hasn't started, but can make 3 cakes each day. So we're going to look at the 4 different things. We have context, that would be the story. So just over here off to the side, I want you to put context. Okay, we had, let's make some tables to show what this would look like. So this would be in the table form. So we're going to do a table for Janae, a table for Kennedy, okay, I want you to think about what the input and output here would be. Okay, our input would be how many days have passed. So let's do input equals days. Output is how many cakes they've made. So let's do days. Let's call that D. And cakes, let's call that C. So same input and output, which is why we can compare these. Days, cakes. So if we're comparing them, I always like to start with 0 for our input. So if 0 days have passed, right now Janae has 3 cakes. At 0 days, Kennedy has 0 cakes because she hasn't started yet. After 1 day, she would have made 2 more cakes, so she'd have 5. 2 days, 7 cakes. 3 days, 9 cakes. Okay, let's look at Kennedy. 1 day, she'd have 3 cakes. 2 days, she'd have 6 cakes. 3 days, she'd have 9 cakes. So we can see that at 3 days, they'd actually be tied. After 3 days, though, let's extend it just 1 more. What if we went to 5 days? After 5 days, she would have 13 cakes, and after 5 days, Kennedy would have 15 cakes. So let's compare here. Let's write an equation for this. So what do I need to do to the days to get the number of cakes? Well, let's think about our starting point. She starts with 3 cakes to begin with. Her rate is 2 cakes each day. 2 times this plus 3 equals the amount of cakes. So there's our equation. Okay, that's another way we can compare. Here, Kennedy does 3 cakes each day, but didn't start with any, so I'm going to write plus 0 here to get how many cakes she has. I could also write just 3 times D. We don't have to do the plus 0. Oops. There we go. Let me straighten that out. Okay, so here we can compare this. Now looking at this, we can see Janae takes a little longer to make cakes. Maybe hers are a little more intricate, but she got started with 3 and Kennedy started with 0. We can see those things here. We can also see it growing here. As this grows 1, this grows 2. As this grows 1, this grows 3. So we can see those rates. Now we're going to just compare them on a graph. Since they have the same input and output, we can compare them on the same graph. Let's give this graph a title of Janae and Kennedy's cake making. Okay, our input is our x-axis, so we're going to label that one cake or days. Our y-axis is going to be the cakes. Okay, looking at this 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, I'm just going to label this by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's going to continue. As for cakes, I need to be able to go up to about 13 and 15. I'm going to label these by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Oh, maybe not quite enough. Let's label it by 2s like this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Try and make it as even as possible. 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. Now here's what we want to do. We need to have a key. So I'm going to put them in different colors. So I'm going to make Janae's cakes blue. And Kennedy, let's do, I have pink. Alright, so now that I have my labels and I have my graph all created that way, my axes, now I'm just going to graph what I have. So, Janae at 0 days, 0 will be right here. At 0 days, she already has 3 cakes made, so I'm going to mark right here at 3. There's our starting point. 1 day, we have 5 cakes. 2 days, 7 cakes. 3 days, 9 cakes. 4 days, we didn't have, but we could probably figure it out. 5 days, 13 cakes, so right about there. Now she can make part of a cake, but since we're looking at whole cakes here, I'm just going to leave them as dots. But we can see Janae in blue. Okay, now I'm going to look at Kennedy. At 0 days, she has 0 cakes, so I'm going to put a dot right there for Kennedy. At 1 day, she has 3 cakes, so 1, 3. 2 days, she'd have 6 cakes. 3 days, oh, this is where they're going to meet. She has 9 cakes. 5 days, she'd have 15 cakes made. So you can see right there, she's starting to pass her up. So we can see how these compare to each other. And that's the purpose of comparing functions. Now we can make all sorts of conclusions to this. You know, if we needed cakes after 2 days, could we get more from? Well, we can see that we could get more from Janae at that time. However, if we needed a bunch of cakes after 10 days, maybe Kennedy would be the one to look at. Or we could put their powers together and see how much they could do together. This is just an example of where you might use this.